悪意を持った何者かがいるのは間違いない。
要するにこれ、チークフリートって先輩ですよ。
Hey guys, welcome to this channel, TopTenTenMedia. I'm your host, Yaboyrocklee, from the reaction channel, Yaboyrocklee. On this video, I will be recommending the top 10 animes that are underrated that I've reacted to. They're not getting enough attention, and I just happen to consider them very good shows. Obviously, if you like reactions, go ahead and subscribe to the Yaboyrocklee reaction channel. Let's jump into the top 10 underrated animes that I'm gonna recommend to you guys. Of course, at the end of this video, if you know an underrated anime that hasn't been mentioned, go ahead and drop a comment for that. Starting with the very first anime, into the mind of a young Shinpei Ajiro, a high schooler who visits his hometown of a small island for the first time in 2 years. The name of this anime? Summertime Rendering.
あいつミオじゃない。こんな話してるお前が影かもしれやんちゅうこっちゃな。
He returns to his old town following the death of his childhood crush, Ushio. During his visit, he unexpectedly comes across Ushio's sister, Milo. At first, Shinpei faces a dear part of his life. Like all chapters of a book, he would have to move on to the next part of the story. However, he can't. It's an interesting take on time travel in a way I have not seen in an anime before. We have a capable main character who makes sense, and a dedicated team of practical characters who don't make you cringe at their decision making. This is a very capable crew and a very interesting plot. Next on our list, and I'm deviating from the script here. I personally watched Fire Force, and I don't like what's written. So Fire Force is pure hype, guys.
ならなきゃいけないんだ。第8特殊消防艦隊に配属されました。 第3世代消防官
It never gets the attention it deserves. Again, one of the reasons why I like this franchise is because the MC represents the MCs I grew up on. We're not talking about a crybaby hero that doesn't want to go out and fight. He might be a crybaby hero, and I mean that in the most respectful way, but he's going to be dishing out fire feet in your face. The entire tale of the mystery in this world continues to ever expand and grow more interesting. Every time we get an answer to an age-old question that we have been wondering, we're followed up by a new question that's equally or greater in interest. You're going to enjoy Shinra the MC, you're going to enjoy the antagonist, you're going to enjoy the supporting characters, and if you watch this anime, be sure you have state-of-the-art headphones. I'm going to go ahead and link you with the this headphones that I'm using. Why am I saying this? Because it's absolutely amazing, it's beautiful to listen to, and I think it's a wonderful experience. Anyways, now I'm going to go back to my lines. Number 3 on our list, we have Talentless Nana.
ここはいろんな能力を持った子供だけが集められたエリート学園だ。
私、人の心が読めます。でも、ちょっと空気は読めません。
50 years ago, horrific creatures dubbed as the enemies of humanity suddenly appeared around the world. To combat these threats, teenagers gifted with supernatural abilities called talents, such as pyrokinesis and time travel, hone their powers at an academy secluded on an island. The series starts off with Nano Nakajimi, who is often targeted by bullying and doesn't seem to quite get along with his peers. He is often the target of bullying, but even so, he strives to complete his training. No spoilers, but this takes the darkest of turns with the introduction of Nana Hiragi. Just as everything starts blending in, comrades in arms, mysterious disappearance begin to threaten the class's entire foundation, and any other goated explanation can entirely ruin this plot, guys. So I'm just gonna move on, but I highly recommend Talentless Nana for those who have not seen it. Coming in at number 4, we have Uncle from Another World.
イレルラーズ、グランバハマル、トナ、ガルトエバーリレクス。
頭がおかしくなっていた。あのさ、おじさんの異世界での仲間って。
In modern day Japan, Takafumi Takako picks up his uncle, who recently awakened from a 17-year coma after being hit by Truck-kun, who, guess what, failed at his mission. You didn't get him this time, Truck-kun. Uncle shows the ability to use magic, once again a failure by Truck-kun, and explains that he was actually sent to another world. Takafumi lets his uncle move in with him, and he is joined by Takafumi's childhood friend, Sumika Fujimiya, who spends their days helping Uncle adjust to modern society while listening to his stories from being reincarnated to another world. I'm sorry, transported to another world. I recommend this anime because it's full of humor, it's fun, it actually has an interesting story. It's going to go back and forth between being in the real world and Uncle's previous world, and you really get invested in the isekai part of the story, as well as the day-to-day slice of life between Uncle, his nephew, and Takafumi. I'm sorry, that name was Fujimiya. I did go off script once again to give pertinent information to you viewers. Back to the video. Number 5 on this list is going to surprise a lot of you. It's going to be JoJo Stone Ocean.
警備レベル4マキシマムセキュリティストリップ始め
OK?
Set in Port St. Lucie, Florida in 2011, my state, the story follows Jotaro Kujo's estranged daughter, Jolene Kujo, as she serves a 15-year sentence at Green Dolphin Street Prison. When her father's stand ability and memories are stolen by a follower of Dio Brando, Jolene takes it upon herself to save her father and break out of prison. Personally, it's among, if not my favorite in the JoJo franchise. And I don't know if it's because I finally got to understand JoJo, or I just got more invested in the story after watching so many episodes. Honestly, having a female protagonist go through the struggle was a nice change in things and got me to be more emotionally invested than I normally would have been. Let's face it, as a man watching a powerful woman push through and struggle, going through danger to save her father, and myself having a daughter of my own, this story was incredibly moving. Also, because Jotaro has established relevance from the previous seasons, you have a character that you feel invested in Jolene saving because that character is important to you. You have an incredible legacy that's built up on the back of Dio Brando himself. So I will say, Stone Ocean has the unfair but nevertheless advantage of being able to utilize an existing storyline and making it something greater and or equally appreciated. Guys, take a look. I mean this one. Coming in at number 6, we have Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro.
ねえねえ先輩はい
まあいいか
Now I'm gonna warn you, this anime gets a lot of bad slack because a lot of people couldn't make it through episode 1. In fact, if I was not doing reactions for a living, I probably wouldn't have made it past episode 1. But guys, I promise you this, after episode 1, you gotta make it to about episode 5/6th. The beach episode has nothing to do with this opinion. It really turns into something wholesome, and you find yourself overreacted on episode 1. You really fall in love with these characters and you start rooting for their development. I promise you that. Hayase Nagatoro continuously frequents the art room where she hangs out and bullies our main character, Senpai or Paisen, depends on what you want to call him, for his timid personality, his otaku interests, and sometimes, all the time, in a very sexual and suggestive fashion, calling him lewd and pushing the boundaries between him and all things dirty. Initially, Senpai really doesn't care for her much, and he desperately tries to stay as far from her as possible. But as she continues to push him to be more assertive, he slowly realizes he's also falling in love with her and gradually comes out of his shell and involves himself more with society. And as this continues, Nagatoro continues to show more of her sensitive side and change to be what I consider a better person. Next on our list is my personal and favorite isekai, and no, I didn't say the best isekai, please listen closely, I said my favorite isekai. And that, my friends, is Eminence and Shadow.
それはお互い様よね。罰ゲームで告白してきたシド影野くん。
ヘタレのお前にいい店紹介してやるよ。いい店って
Eminence and Shadow is about a modern-day boy in Japan who desires to become a mastermind who exerts power from the shadows. But in the process of his training, he gets hit by a truck and dies. And guys, I can't tell you if he ran into Truck-kun or Truck-kun ran into him. He is reborn in a fantasy world as Sid Kaganu, where he maintains a perfectly mediocre appearance as to not stand out and pursue his dreams of manipulating from the shadows. Haha, shadows, Kaganu, get it? This story is a groundbreaking one because you have the nonsensical humor that follows Sid's story, and if you overthink it, you can get incredibly lost, but I'm gonna leave that alone. And then you actually have the world building story and character development that's happening. What really sets this story apart is as the world is building and being developed, it's how Sid is interacting with that world and changing and or impacting it in a way that's unlike anything that you ever have seen. Sid, for the most part, has no idea about this story. So it's very unpredictable how the story can be impacted because it's not following a logical thought process from an individual. He makes random decisions because he does not understand nor believe in anything that's happening. Therefore, it's always an unpredictable storyline, but at the same time, always making sense. Very hard to pull off, and that's why I enjoy it so much. Coming in at number 8. We have Mobile Suit Gundam Witch from Mercury. The series is set in a new calendar system dubbed Ad Stella, AS. In this timeline, humanity has advanced into space, yet a conflict occurred that caused a split between the inhabitants of space colonies, also called Spacians, and the earthbound Earthians, with a vast economic inequality between the two. What else is new? These conflicts revolve around material named Permit, which was mined due to its information linking properties. Various technologies have been developed by mixing Permit with other materials or propellants for control purposes, including mobile suit development. Several mega corporations are established in this timeline, which all focus on the development of technologies for Spacians, but also cause a social and political divide between them and Earthians. Another highly recommended series because of the character development and world building, constantly wondering who the real villain is, who's a villain, deciding everyone's actually a villain, as well as the reoccurring theme of always having to go forward despite the consequences, despite the setbacks. We always have to go forward, otherwise we fall back. Highly recommended and a mature theme. Number 9 on our list, we have Kami Katsu.
俺の剣と魔法の異世界生活はどこ行った？
私アルラルって言います。ガンガン行くわよ。
This series caught me by surprise. Again, I personally did not really like the first 2 episodes, but by episode 3 and by episode 8, I was in tears. The show does a fantastic job of mixing a real theme / plot point that is to be very concerning and comedy. So you'll find yourself laughing, but you're following the plot, you're following the emotions of these characters, and you're crying and laughing simultaneously, or you're so confused you don't know which emotion to pick. Comedy or disgust, cry, disgust, happy, disgust, but there's one thing that's always constant, is disgust. Pick your disgust, because I promise you, there's a disgust for everybody. The series revolves around Yukito. After a ritual gone wrong, Yukito is reincarnated to a world where there are no gods, which is exactly what he asked for. And then we see the consequences of having no gods in a weird and comedic way. He finds himself having to raise the standing of his own goddess who followed him, Mitama, and raise her standing into this world and bring back the idea of gods in order to save it in his image. While the story is not set on pursuing or pushing religious beliefs in any capacity, so far in the anime it's 100% built on the concept of having a free life, but just so having to bring back the existence of gods as they push interesting human behavior and or give humans something to hope for. I really can't put this one into words without spoiling, guys, but I definitely highly recommend this one. Number 10, our final suggestion is Don Machi.
迷宮都市オラリオン、ダンジョンと通称される壮大な地下迷宮を保有する巨大都市。
Or in other words, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? The story takes place in a city that is home to a number of gods who, seeking excitement, choose to limit their divine powers in order to experience the hardships of those who reside in the mortal world. These guys maintain a retinue of adventurers and support personnel drawn from the people of the city known as Familia. The primary activity of these organizations is exploring the labyrinth under the city known as the Dungeon in order to battle monsters and harvest crystal shards that they leave behind when destroyed. While the story gets more complex, the problems of the dungeon don't just stay in the dungeon. You have sinister plots between gods plotting against other gods, monsters escaping the dungeon, and at a certain point questioning the ethicalness of killing monsters. It's a fantastic series. The main character, Belcrano, doesn't simply body or win every battle. There is struggle. You feel the weight. You feel the stakes of every conflict. You really don't know when he's going to win, when he's going to lose. And whenever he does win, it feels very, very triumphant. On top of that, Bell is surrounded by great characters. None of them are cringe. I really have to stress that. Sometimes a show is pushed by being frustrated with characters and it just constantly leads to negative emotions. Not Machi is pushed by great characters. They all go through a personal struggle and you want to root for them, and it's very rewarding to see the growth. Enemies turn to friends. Friends might be enemies. And there is no shortage of waifus. I highly recommend Machi. Alright folks, we have reached the end of this video. If you guys like this content, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Drop a comment on some of your underrated recommended animes. Of course, I can only recommend what I've seen, particularly on this list. We do have other research topics that I may not have personally seen, but on this particular video, these are all things that I've seen. We also have a reaction channel on Yaboyrocklee Reactions. I react to anime. That's a lot of how I encounter some of these shows. So if you guys like anime reactions, I ask that you subscribe to that channel and let me know that you came here from the Top 10 Media. I'm your host, Rocky Lee from Yaboyrocklee. Thank you.